Okay, unless you've been living under a rock, you realise there's a lot of change going on at the moment in the world, and this was all sort of predicted because we're going through a massive change through the world. So basically, I get a lot of questions about, you know, we need to change governments, we need to change this person, all that sort of stuff. So, what I basically wanted to address here tonight was that the current system that we're under has to fail. It has to. Because basically, we've been living under slavery for the last 3, 4, 5, 6, 700 years, whatever you want to call it. If you're living under a king or a queen, if you're living under a dictator, if you're living under any sort of regime, you're a slave. And that even goes for America, because you're living under the regime of the Federal Reserve, for example, right? You're in debt slavery. So what I wanted to address tonight was basically solutions for this period that we're going through. Because a lot of people are worried. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's change, but they don't offer any solutions. So these are things that I've been going through my head for the last 20 years, literally. And what I'm going to propose to you is what I first proposed, mostly, probably 70% of this, 20 odd years ago when I was at university. I ran this by a professor and he went, oh, wow, that's really good, but it'll never happen. Now's the time for it to happen. And what sparked me with this was that our government here in Australia were banging their chest saying, oh, we're going to stop all selling off of Australia to China and all this sort of stuff. And then in the news we find out one of the biggest baby formula companies in Australia just got bought out by a Chinese government company, right? So there was a big to-do here in Australia where Chinese people were coming in, cleaning off the shelves of baby formula, so locals couldn't buy baby formula, and they were sending it back to China by the pallet load. So now they've just bought the company, so they don't need to do that anymore, I guess. They're just going to ship it directly. So, we're living in a corrupt system, a failed system. What this coronavirus has done, it's opened people's eyes, thank God, right? There's always a silver lining. No matter what it is, there is always a silver lining, right? And the silver lining in this is people have finally seen the soft underbelly of globalism. And what's that? That nothing works. When China got shut down, we didn't have antibiotics, we didn't have medications, pharmaceuticals, and a lot of other stuff. And then all the shipping shut down and all the cheap products that they produce shut down. That's the soft underbelly of globalism. When one major country fails, the world fails. But if every single country was their own sovereign state, if one failed, it doesn't really affect the others, does it? No, but under globalism, it does. And that's the failure of globalism. And just look at your own life. If you're older than 30 years old, right, you'll know 30 years ago, hell, even 20 years ago, life was a lot different. Food was cheaper, the cost of living was cheaper, rent was cheaper. We still had our struggles, we still had our problems, but nothing like today. Nothing like we see today. It's just ridiculous. You go to the supermarket today and spend $50, you walk out with three things in your bag. Where once upon a time you fed a family of four. And it wasn't that long ago. That was in my lifetime. So what's changed? What's the difference? Globalism. And this is what we need to destroy. So I'm just going to focus a little bit on Australia because that's where I am now. If you're in Australia or in any Commonwealth country in the world, like New Zealand, Canada, anything, you're under Westminster Parliament. And what do we know about that? In Australia, it started about 165 years ago. In England, it started probably 300 years ago, right? The Westminster system. And if you look at the Westminster system, anyone that's under the Westminster system, at the very first rule is you're under the rule of the Queen, of the monarch. And people say, oh, but she doesn't do anything. Oh, my word, she does. In 1973, we had Gough Whitlam, a Prime Minister here in Australia. She sacked him, right? Got rid of him, put in the opposition leader on the proviso that he doesn't buck the system and he plays ball, and he did, right? That's what they have to do in Australia. In Canada, they've done that 5 times, right? Australia once, Canada 5 times. If the Queen doesn't like your government, she just sacks you, she just fires you. So on the one side, we don't need assassinations in Australia. That's why you've never seen an assassination. We don't need them. All you need is a Governor-General in your pocket. Or, in the other case, we've had, I think, 9 or 10 Prime Ministers just overthrown by their own party members, by corrupt party members, right? Purely because they were doing populist things, really. And this is what we've got to change. So it's not a point of voting this idiot out and voting that one in. They're all working for the same people. All of them are, right? In Australia, we had the Conservative Party just sold the baby formula, right, to China. In Victoria, the state, it's got a liberal, what do you call them, lefty guy down there who sold the port of Melbourne to China. They're all in it together, right? This left-right thing is fake. Don't get sucked into this left-right thing. It's fake. They all work for the same boss, and they all work for the UN, right? They're all bowing down to the UN. They want us to download an app, put that on your phone so they can track your every move, right? They can stick that up their arse as far as I'm concerned. Excuse my language, but that really bothers me. There's no way I'm downloading their app, and there's no way I'm taking their vaccine either, right? So good luck with that, fellas. Anyway, back to what I'm talking about. Parliament. We can't keep doing this system of parliament. This goes for every country in the world, even America, right? The system is broken. 165 years we've been dealing with this in Australia. It's time to get the new model. It's time to up to the new model, right? And it's not this crap, this, voting every 4 years for some idiot that's just going to lie and ignore what the people want, right? A justice system that lets pedophiles out, anyway. Basically, in Australia, the first thing we need to do is we have to become a republic. That's very important because at the moment we are under the yoke of the Queen. As long as the Queen owns us, she owns us. We can't do anything. You could have a saviour come forth and be the greatest leader. If she doesn't like him or the establishment doesn't like him, they'll just get rid of him. They'll either fire him or the party will overthrow him or her for that matter, right? That's what will happen. So we need to become independent. That's number one. If you want to see change, we've got to come independent from the UK. The second thing is we need to abolish political parties. And a lot of you will think, oh, that's ridiculous, you can't run it. Of course you can run it, right? Political parties are a fairly modern invention, right? They haven't been around that long. When you look at the history of the world, they haven't been around that long. And the fact is, what political parties, what they do is they encourage cronyism, right? They're mates. So in Australia, we have ministers. I think in America they're called secretaries, right? They're the boss of a Department of Agriculture, for example. We have the Minister for Agriculture, which I think is a Secretary of Agriculture and that sort of thing, right? So these ministers, are they qualified in that area that they're given? No. Are they experts? No. No. What they were is they were loyal to the now party leader. That's what they were. They were loyal to him, so they get the good jobs. They get a ministership. That's what they get, right? The other ones that weren't that loyal or just lower down the totem pole, they just become, senators, but they don't get a minister portfolio. So that's the first reason why I want to get rid of political parties, because it encourages them not to reward on merit, but to reward on who's got the biggest tongue that can stick it fair up their arse the furthest, right? That's really what it comes down to. So I want to abolish all that and get rid of political parties. What I want to see is university educated people. So let's say you're interested in politics. Well, go to university, any age, I don't care what age you are, but it's going to be 4 years. First 3 years is going to be learning political science. You'll learn everything from diplomacy to economics, even to military stuff. Everything that crops up in world politics every day and domestic politics every day, we're going to cram that into a 3-year degree, and then you do a 4th year where you specialise in an area. This is if you want to apply for the job of a minister or a secretary. So if I want to apply for the job of Minister of Agriculture, I spend my 4th year specialising in agriculture or specialising in diplomacy or specialising in military, whatever it is. Then, once I've completed and I've got my degree, then I can apply for positions within the government, right? You still get to vote. You still have representatives, qualified representatives, of course, right? Who can then represent the people that they in the areas that they live in and go to the federal level to represent their states and things like that, like we have now, right? That still goes on. But when they're hiring people to fill positions, it's just like the corporate world. You get the best person for the job. Like I often say, this Freiberg guy, whatever he is, running the Australian Treasury at the moment, is a clown. He's a sycophant and a clown. Now, if I was running $1 billion company, would I hire my best mate that used to run a burger shop, or would I hire, a a professor or whatever, or a master's degree in accountancy, in economics? Would I hire that guy, or would I hire the guy that flipped burgers for a living? Let me see, right? In a company, you would hire the one with the best qualifications. Why aren't we doing that for our countries? This is why you've got lunatics running around making idiotic decisions because they've got no idea what they're doing. They get bamboozled by lobbyists that sell them, oh, buy my product, buy my product. Then they go, oh, okay, that's a great idea. What time's lunch, right? They're not qualified for the position. So this old system, it was very quaint in its day, right? It didn't matter that much because the world wasn't as complex as it is today. But let's face it, the world has changed. It's a lot more complex. We need to grow up. And by growing up, I mean hire the best person for the job. Now, how do we keep them honest? Easy. There's a thing called blockchain, which I go on and on about all the time, but we can use blockchain. Anyone, which means everyone, who's got an internet connection, and why I say that, even if you don't have a computer in your house, you can go to your local library. They've got a computers there that you can, you book them, you don't pay any money, and you get internet for free, right? So I don't buy this, I don't have a computer at home. Go to your library, they've got them, right? I know, because one of my jobs used to be setting up a network of 12 computers in the local library. I know, it's there, right? Anyway, so the point is, you log in, instead of going to vote as such, you can just log in with a key code, so there's no cheating, right? And again, like in the corporate world, we have key point indicators, and they'd be on the screen. Did this person meet their key point indicators? Did they keep their promises? Yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no, no, no. If at the end of that, after a week and everyone puts in their score and we tally it up, if they haven't done what they're meant to do, they get the arse, right? They get fired. And you'll always have people behind them, chomping at the bit to get into that position. So we put in a new person, we give them the same KPIs. This is what you've got to achieve. This is what you promised us. We're going to hold you to it, right? Give them 12 months to sort it out, get the feet, get used to their job. Fair enough. Second year, I expect results. And it's the same with, if you're ever building a house, some of you probably have built a house, right? The builder is held to certain key levels, right? At different points, he's got to have certain jobs completed by that point, right? By that date, like lock-up stage, okay? By the 5th of May, it's got to be at lock-up stage. It's only when you've got mitigating circumstances like a flood went through there or a tornado or something, they couldn't do it. Otherwise, they're held responsible for having that part of the job completed at that date. Otherwise, they don't get funding for the next part and they don't get paid for that part, right? That's how it works in the real world. Do the same for politicians. If they don't do their job on the date they're required to, they don't get paid, right? Until they do it. And if they fail to keep doing it, they get fired. So that's basically what that's all about. Now, of course, in Australia, I think you need a president. I really do. It's like a CEO of a company. You just need someone to oversee it. Similar to what America's got. America's not perfect, but I think it's better than a lot of countries with their constitution, because that's the first thing. We need a proper constitution and we need a Bill of Rights. Australia doesn't even have a Bill of Rights, okay? That's just ridiculous. That's why we're held as chattel at the moment, We don't even have a Bill of Rights that we can fall back on. The court system is bought and paid for by lobbyists and lefties. That's got to change as well. Again, we should have judges that go on their ruling, and we should be able to log in and say, well, I didn't agree with that. And if they keep getting enough negative things that the people don't like, then they're fired. They either change or they're fired, right? One of the two. Now, the other thing that in America was a hot topic with socialism, where Bernie Sanders wanted to give free tuition to all the university students, right? Now, hold on, because I sort of agree with him on that, but in a different way. I don't think it's fair that these, Harvard schools their rich parents buy their way in for the kid, right? That's nonsense. And then you might have some kid that's, maybe he's got an alcoholic single mum, but he's really bright. He's born naturally bright and he shows aptitude. I want that kid to go to university. He could grow up to be a lawyer, a doctor, an engineer, whatever, right? He could be such a beneficial part of this community. I don't want to see that kid not succeed purely because his parents didn't have the money to send him to university, right? And you can't put it all on the government either, because this is where Bernie and the lefty idiots, they don't know how to pay for it. And they keep saying, how do you pay for it, Bernie? Oh, I don't know, we'll just gut the middle class. That's what they want to do, because that's commies. That's what communists do. They gut the middle class. They just want upper and lower. That's it. They don't want a middle class. So they gut the middle class. And they say they're going to tax the billionaires. Well, the billionaires just all leave town. They go somewhere else. So how do we do it? This is a system I came up with years ago. I've kept it to myself because I didn't want these lunatic socialists grabbing onto it. But now that time is over. Now it's time to get it all out there. So you're hearing it here for the first time. My big idea. How do we pay for free intuition? Easy. User pay. A user pay system. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's look at a law firm that hires 50 lawyers. Every time they hire a new lawyer, they always go to the universities and they get the top 2% of law students and they bring them in as interns and then they train them up and eventually they make their way up within the company, okay? So that law firm is absolutely dependent on high quality, high educated students coming out of universities. Yeah, I think you'd all agree, right? They do. Without those universities producing high quality students, their business will fail. It will fail because eventually the lawyers that they've got there will all go old and retire and die and then who do you replace them with? You've got no one to replace them with. So you have to replace them with university students. So why aren't they paying for that? Why do they expect to get highly educated people coming to their organisation to benefit their organisation where they charge $50 for a photocopy, right? They get them for nothing. So they're putting all that cost either on the parents or the government to give them the quality students that they require, right? It's ridiculous. Why aren't they paying for that out of their super profits that they make, right? Now, you can do this then across the whole board, every single industry that requires university or technical, because let's not forget the technical people, right? That go to technical college. And, how's your job going to get done without an excavator operator? Not any chimpanzee can jump in an excavator and just start digging holes, right? There's an art to it and a lot of practice, right? Most of those guys that are excavator operators or plant operators, they go to some sort of training school where they pay for it out of their own pocket or, go to tech college and things like that. Yet all these builders who make millions of dollars off every building that they build get to use those guys and their talents. So what I'm saying is it's time that we pay on merit and on talent like we used to in the good old days, right? You didn't become a rock star if you were just pretty. You became a rock star because you had genuine talent. And we've lost that, right? We don't hire talent anymore. We hire the yes men and the pretty people and, the people willing to sell their soul. That's who we hire, right? So basically, that's what I'm saying. There should be free education from primary school right up to university. Because if the primary school aren't producing kids good enough to go to university, then you don't have a university. See, it goes right down. And I'm not saying let every person in the world that wants to go to university go. It doesn't work like that. You have to pass a test. You have to show aptitude. Merit. You have to show merit. If you show merit, I don't care what your demographic is or whatever. If you show merit, you get to go into university. It's as simple as that. Who pays for it? The companies that rely on it. And you do it on a pro rata system. Like you have a flat 2.5% rate. So if you hire 50 people and you make this much profit, you pay 2.5%. If you only hire 3 people and you only make that profit, you pay 2.5%. See, it's all equal. It's all fair, right? So that's how you pay for higher education, and any education for that matter, because education is the greatest tool of civilization, in my opinion. You know, there's people say, oh, there's all different things, you know, aeroplanes and motor cars and things like that. But you can't build aeroplanes or motor cars without education. In fact, think of anything in this society that makes this society what it is. It all came from people that had an education. Everything, right? So that's the most important thing in this world. Educate our children, not some bogus lefty, you know, dress up as women if you're a boy crap. I'm talking about proper education, right? You know, history, science, math, English, all that good stuff, right? Anyway, so that's that. As I said, KPIs. Now, the next thing for Australia is if we brought this new system in, we do a buyback of every foreign national that's ever bought a company or whatever land in this country. You offer them a bargain basement price to buy it back. If they don't want that, we'll offer you a lease, a 50-year lease. Take it or leave it. Right, that's it. Take it or leave it. We've got to take this country back. We've got to bring production back. I'll get to that in a minute. But that's right. So we need to get back, claw back all of our properties and, you know, ports and all those things. It's not just China, by the way. England owns a lot. Like, they own all the mines, all of them, just about. Canada own a lot of stuff, you know, but we let them. It's not their fault. Our stupid sellout governments let them do it. So sorry, I've just got a little list here. I'm just going through. Oh, pays, minimum pay. We have minimum pay in Australia. It's not great, but it's better than nothing. A lot of countries don't even have it. But why don't we have a maximum pay? Why do these losers get paid millions of dollars for, I don't know what, for being globalists, I guess, for being yes men? They get paid millions of dollars, but they're not worth it. They don't have the talent. No one in this world is worth a $10 million salary. I don't know if you guys know Anderson Cooper. He is a CNN anchor, right? He works for CNN, the biggest propaganda arm of the CIA. They're just a joke. Guess how much Anderson Cooper earns a year? He earns $12 million a year. That's $1 million a month, or $50,000 a week, something like that. Is he worth it? Is he seriously worth $12 million? I could do his job with my eyes shut, and I wouldn't expect that sort of money. Why does he get that sort of money? Because he lies for a living, that's why. Because he's willing to lie. So we have to hold them all to account. So with these, you know, ridiculous payments of $10, $12 million, then they get $1 million bonus and all that sort of crap, that's got to stop, right? I think if you can't live off $2 million a year, then you're doing something wrong. That's the way I see it. Hell, I'd even go to $3 million if you want. If we've got a minimum wage, we need a maximum wage. And what do we do with the extra money that would have been paid in wages? We give it to the universities and the schools and all those sort of things, right? And we start distributing the money more evenly. Because the only reason why companies make that much money, where did they get it from? They got it from you, the people. It didn't just appear out of thin air, right? They offer a service which the people pay into at a maximum profit for them. It's not fair. Right? So this is how we equal it out. So we don't need CEOs getting $10 million a year. I don't know what the number is, but smarter people than me can figure it out. I'm just trying to give you examples of what we should be doing. Basically, that's really sort of all I'm saying, right? That's basically what it is. So we need a whole new government. We need a new way of deciding things. We need more equity in the world. No one should be left behind. But at the same time, we should have sovereign nations who protect their borders, look after their own people. Because, as I said at the beginning, globalism ruined that. Globalism is what causes pandemics. Globalism is what causes world economic collapses. Now, that's the other thing. They're trying to collapse the economy. There's a new model coming. If you've noticed, Target and Kmart, Bunnings, which is like, it's a big hardware store if you're not from Australia, they're all doing this buy it online and then come and pick it up. We'll pack it for you and pick it up. I think that's the new model. Because if you remember, a couple of months back, me and my friend Anthony Flynn, I don't know if he's here, but we were having a good discussion about the what were they calling it? The retail apocalypse, where all these retail shops were just going under, all tons of them, right? Tons of them. And I think it was coming for all of them. And so this pandemic, whether it was planned or not, it certainly helped them. So by shutting down and now having this new model where you buy it online and then just go and pick it up, I think that's to compete, because the reason why all the retail stores on the ground have all lost so much money is because of the internet, right? People buy stuff on the internet now. But what people don't like on the internet, when it takes, a week or 3 days to deliver it, but when people are told, well, you can order online and then just come and pick it up an hour later, I think that's going to attract a lot of people. So I think this is the new model that we're going to see. So even after the coronavirus is done and buried, like they've milked that to death, I think they're going to keep doing this, buy online and we'll pack it for you, because they don't have to hire staff and, all the costs that go with that. It's a lot cheaper. They can run at a profit again. They can compete with online ordering, that sort of stuff. So I think that's sort of what's going on there. Well, that's basically it, I think. Again, I just like to do these short. I don't like to take too long. If you have any questions, then put them in the things below. I can't really see them at the moment. It just says such and such is watching, such and such is watching. Barbara Swan, is that thumbs down or fingers down? I don't know what it is. Fat cats. Oh, fat cats. Yes, down with the fat cats. I agree. It's time for a new system, guys. This is when we got to do it, right? Don't let this fade. Don't let this go away. Right at the moment, our government wants to bring in a UN-pushed app that tracks every move that you do. They want to get a vaccine in your arm. You let that happen, it's game over, right? It really is game over. So now's the time to get motivated. Now's the time, right? The energy is right. The people are waking up. Everything is lined up, ready to go. We just got to get through this stupid coronavirus thing, and when we come out the other side, this is why they don't want you protesting, right? And gathering in numbers and protesting. And that's another thing. I think if this is still going in a couple of weeks, we should have to do mass rallies in the cities. We do. We just have to. And show to them that we're not scared of their crap. We're not scared of their bully boys, their jackboot bully boy coppers that want to come and arrest you and bash you up because, you went to your girlfriend's house. You hear about that in WA? In WA, Western Australia, a young fella got a 6-month suspended sentence, but he has to serve 1 year because he snuck out of his house and went to his girlfriend's house. I tell you now, if I got busted for that when I was a teenager, I would serve probably 752 years. Seriously, I'm not joking, right? Because I did that pretty regularly. That's what kids do. Arresting him, it was just Orwellian, in my opinion, just Orwellian. And so is a lot of this. I'm just going to leave you on this note, Bart. I always thought that they were going to bring in a totalitarian police state. I did. I always feared that was going to come. But I always thought it would be troops on the ground, guns in your belly, that sort of thing. And it wasn't. All they did was told people to stay at home. And they did. The people stayed at home. And they told people not to go to the beaches and don't go here, don't go there. And they followed it. They agreed to it. And then they cop these stupid fines like they're real. They're not real, right? Don't pay the fines. It's up to you. So it looks like the totalitarian dictatorship, or whatever you want to call it, has come, but it's come with a smile, essentially. Really. So just to let you know, I don't take it serious at all. I actually had some people over here. 4 people came over for a dinner party last Sunday. I cooked for them. I love cooking. I did some nice gourmet food. We had a wonderful afternoon. Watched the movie. Had a great time. I don't care. They didn't care. Don't take it too serious, guys. We can win this, and we are winning this. All right? Anyway, that's me. I'm done. I'm out. See you later.